All right, so peace. So now this is part two and most likely the last part on the Lavar Ball sneaker issue. This is his appearance on the show with Skip and Shannon. So let's see how he validates or justifies the pricing of his shoes.
Zo 2 shoes last week selling for $495. He's the father of Lonzo Ball and the head of Big Baller brand, Lavar Ball. Welcome back to Undisputed.
Hey,
Welcome.
Good morning. Look at
Now I pause it there because as anybody can see who's familiar, that is a Masonic grip. You can see the way Shannon's looking at him and the way he's looking at Shannon. They're both in the so-called Masonic Brotherhood. All right, but that is the Masonic grip.
This man
That's the CEO stuff.
is right. He is the CEO.
I mean, he normally come out here big t-shirts and sweatpants and sneakers. Now look at it. Time for business, baby. Time for business.
Well, Lavar, have you been surprised by all the reactions to your shoes?
Oh, not really. I expect this reaction.
Yeah, he expected the reaction because that's part of his marketing plan. Right? It's the retail version of shock and awe. Right? He's trying to create an aura around the shoe. Like I said, it's called psychological sales marketing.
On the fact that people are losing sight, they're looking at the price tag and not understanding that Lonzo's shoe is symbolic. That comes with a price tag. This is
Symbolic.
symbolic as he's the first one ever to come in here without even playing a game and have his own brand. It's not just a shoe you just go in to a store or something like that and you say, you know what, let me get the Kyrie, the LeBrons. By the way, throw in the ZO2. ZO2s mean something. That's why the price tag is like that. That's what the shoes worth. I bet you not one of those guys that I named sat in the room for the price of the shoe.
And he's most likely right about that because they knew nothing about the shoe industry. They knew nothing about business when they first got their shoe contract. They were just happy to get it. Okay? So, that's the method to his madness. And a lot of people will say, well, that's short-sighted. Those guys sign 8-figure contracts with their shoe company. Like I said before, I don't believe that Lavar Ball is... I think that Lavar Ball is a guy who'd rather make $5 his own way than get $100 from somebody else when that $100 might have a string attached to it. That just seems to be his mindset. All right. Whether or not that mindset is fiscally feasible, we'll find out soon enough.
Just give you the shoe and here you go.
Did you seek advice to come up with $495, or was that your?
No, I didn't have to seek no advice because it's mine.
And how did you arrive at
I
$495?
think that's what the shoe is worth. I think that's what the shoe is worth.
You know what, Lavar? I know you. I watch you. I watch your mannerisms, Skip, man. And let me tell you something about this man. The reason why he came up with $495, he's like, if I come up with a shoe for $100 or $125, ain't nobody gonna be talking about it.
That's the point, Shannon. It's too bad you didn't get that until now. That's why he priced it that high, right? When you price something that high, it's psychological. It makes people think, okay, wow, for it to be priced that high, it must be worth something. We've all seen clothes or shoes or any material item that was clearly drastically overpriced. We've all seen restaurants where the food was drastically overpriced. Why is that? Because they're trying to be selective with their clientele. This is why he blatantly said that if you don't want to buy the shoe, you're not a big baller. It's only for big ballers. Meaning what? It's only for people who have money to spend on a shoe.
See, they're talking about the price, not the shoe.
Right.
But you got people. But see what you got people's attention. Now that you got their attention, how do you keep it with this shoe? Because like you said, Lonzo hadn't played the game.
He don't have to play a game. He did more than enough. Look what he did for UCLA. He sold that place out and ain't been sold out in 10 years. What you mean he ain't did enough? They got Gucci and Prada. What have they done?
But here's
At least my son can play.
But here's the thing. Michael Jordan could not command $100 for a pair of
Because
sneakers.
he ain't Lonzo Ball, that's why.
Lavar, you better stop playing with me
I'm going
now.
to tell you again, did he have his own brand when he came in?
No.
It's a new era. It's called the ball era.
But here's the thing, though. What is he going to do to make that shoe symbolic? Because you had
That
Air
shoe
Jordan.
is symbolic already on the fact that he's coming in with his own brand. Nobody's ever done that. So if I sell 50 shoes, who cares? It's a family thing.
That's the point. You see that? That's what I said from the previous part. Look at Shannon's with that simple look on his face. You got to understand something. LeVar Ball is operating as a man who feels like he has nothing to lose. If it doesn't work, he just goes back to his own business. He already has a nice house in a nice neighborhood. He has nothing to lose. A lot of these so-called black commentators and former black athletes, they're speaking as guys who came from nothing. A lot of them had no family, no father figure in the home, much less a alpha male type of figure like a LeVar Ball. All right, so Shannon is enraptured right now by LeVar Ball. He's looking at LeVar like, wow, I wish this was my dad. I guarantee you that's what he's thinking in his brain.
It's for the family. I'll make them all for Lonzo. Lonzo has his own shoe. Just like Shaq was saying, oh, LeVar, you need to make it for the kids. No, that's your lane. You make it for them.
Exactly. Shaquille O'Neal is a big oaf and a big idiot who's gone through the last 25 years making an ass out of himself on TV. And he has the nerve to be trying to give people advice. Don't get me wrong. Shaq has done some good things in regards to his charity work and so on and so forth. But in regards to business advice, the lane that Shaq has taken is totally different from the lane that a Lonzo Ball or the average athlete can take, because Shaq is like the overgrown buffoon. Everybody can't play that role. All right, that's why Shaq can have 50 endorsements.
They got 2 lanes they can come in. He makes his shoe, his Shaq attack. How come his son don't wear it? It's a family thing. See, my son will wear my shoe.
Cut to the damn heart.
It's a family thing.
Oh, you give him a choice?
I'm giving him a choice. He can wear any shoe he wants, but why wouldn't you want to wear something that's your own? That's what I'm saying.
You make a valid point.
So
Shannon was finished with that. Yeah, I remember that Floyd Mayweather faced similar type of criticism when he started his money team line.
So we know Chad Johnson bought it, or at least ordered a
Right.
pair, and we know Michael Bennett said he ordered a couple pair, I believe.
Yes.
Are you were aware of those?
Yes, they told me that.
So can you give us some idea of how many have been ordered?
Just look at me and you tell me.
This is
You know what's amazing? So-called black people will always tell a so-called black man what he should price his clothes at or his product at. But those same so-called black people will run on websites. You know, they'll run on Ralph Lauren. They'll run on all of these Italian websites, Gucci and Prada and so on. They never send those people a message saying, you know what, you should really lower your price because I love your clothes. They wouldn't dare do that. You know why? Because they aspire to embrace the energy and the aura around those clothes based on the price. But they'll tell LeVar Ball how he should decrease the price because he's a so-called black man. Remember, the price of an item is oftentimes congruent with the worth of the item. So the reason why they like to tell so-called black business owners or aspiring business owners that they should lower their prices because they look at you as being of low worth.
this is proof positive?
Yes, this is proof positive
Yeah.
right here.
That was quick. The shoes
Very
just
quick. Very quick.
hold on. The shoes drop on Thursday and you got a tux on Monday.
That's how it's rolling. You see it.
If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Hey, I didn't say that.
So
Let's get before you go.
Hey,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yes.
I got no problem. You're an entrepreneur. You want your son. This is okay. You have your own brand. It's not going to be, and people are not going to profit off of you.
Right.
But the comment, if you can't afford $4.95, you're not a baller. You think you go a bit?
I didn't say if you can't afford
Right.
$4.95. See, if you don't cop the ZO2s, you're not a baller. As I said before, this big baller brand is not just about having a lot of money and paying. Big baller brand, you could be a big baller at whatever you do.
See, he's copying the Floyd Mayweather credo. Mayweather says that you can be a member of the money team and just be rich at heart. This guy's a very witty and shrewd publicist.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Work hard and get it. That's what I mean by that.
Okay. No,
Some people think, hey, some of these folks think big baller is just sitting there crying.
So, Shannon, what did I tell you on Friday? That this man has pulled off something that Nike and Under Armour and Reebok would envy, which is over 72 hours, you have generated more publicity with $4.95 than they could ever have hoped for any launch of their shoes.
They couldn't even do that if they wanted to because Nike is so big and so vast that if they would have priced a shoe at $4.95, everybody would accuse them of price gouging. But because this guy is brand new and he has not set any type of standard for himself and his company, he can pretty much overshoot any type of conventional standard because he's just brand new in the field, and he's already created a reputation for himself as an exaggerator. So why not exaggerate your product as well?
Right. So was that part of the thinking? Was that
That's
that if you
it's part of the thinking, like you said, on the fact that it's my own thinking. I don't have to go to a boardroom and say, you know what do you think the price should be on this? My boardroom consists of me and my son. Son, if you think your value of your shoe is that, what you think? This ain't the normal shoe. We put a lot into this, but nobody's going to give the creativity to a 19-year-old kid. He's wearing the shoe. Everything on that shoe he designed.
So has anyone ordered the $9.95? Is that what it is?
Here's the
$9.95 with the
$9.95.
autograph, right?
Oh, yes. Because
Yes.
here's what this is. That shoe right there is memorabilia.
That's why I said it'll be a novelty item. I guarantee you, if the line takes off, he's going to release something more affordable. But you don't start out at the bottom. You start out up high, and then you work your way down. All right. Most items that are new release, they're normally priced extremely high. And then after a while, the price whittles down to make your product more available to the masses.
So that's what they don't get. People can't sign those shoes at the end of their career because they already sold to the licensing, to the right to sign their own shoe. They gave that to the memorabilia early. That's why you don't have nobody. You got to stamp them other signs on there, them Kobe signs and LeBron signs.
So
Is
give
original.
us some idea how it's selling. Just some idea.
Well, it's selling on the fact that it's a good shoe. It looks good. It's a family thing as far as.
But like how many orders? Can you give us some vague ballpark? Just
I'll give you a vague ballpark. Is give me a number. How about $4.95?
you've had 495 orders?
At least.
Well, I hope so.
Well, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Were we right? We were just speculating on Friday. We're doing 1,000.
See, that's where everybody wants to see where about what's going on with the prices and all that, and how many shoes we sell.
Well, I'm a designer
Here's the
shoe.
thing. Yeah, see, now everybody want to design a shoe. But
We
just
can
like I
dress
was
like
telling you,
that.
just like the memorabilia thing,
Yeah.
you buy this shoe for $1,000. Whatever Lonzo does, he goes to the playoffs, wins some championships. Imagine how much it's worth there. See, that's where they're getting stuck on the numbers. Forget about the price.
Right.
Exactly, because he has nothing to lose. This man has nothing to lose. All right. Like Skip touched on in the previous video, he's getting his startup money from the initial consumers. So if it doesn't work out, he lost nothing. He just goes back to being a personal trainer. It's not that big a deal.
Right.
Just understand what we're doing with this. I never heard of memorabilia going down.
So what's
All right, so now this is the only report that I really saw of any type of commentator who seemed to really understand what was going on in regards to the Lavar Ball overpriced shoe situation. So let's see how he explains it.
So on the show Monday, Doug Gottlieb filled in, and Lavar Ball was on the show, and they introduced a $495 shoe, and there was kind of outrage. People could not believe it. They thought it was idiotic. Here is Lavar Ball saying why they picked that price point.
My son is the one who had the creativity on the shoe. So what's good about that is that's how much we feel the shoe is worth. It was all to his specifications. Zoe created that whole shoe. He has to wear it. He has to perform in it. He knows what he likes. So I had no creativity in that shoe whatsoever. And all I care about is making sure my son likes a shoe that he likes and not something that somebody just thrown to him and say, hey, endorse this. You doing all the running and jumping and you sitting back collecting the money.
Let me just throw this out, because it's not that Lonzo has a shoe. We kind of understand that the Ben Simmons and the Lonzo Ball and the young players now have shoes very early in their careers. It's the price point, right? But let me tell you a story a few years ago. This is about 15 years ago. I had an old used car. I loved it. It was an old BMW. It was a gold BMW, and I lived in Portland. And back when people used to use newspapers instead of like Craigslist, I put the car for sale, and I loved it. And it was a tough decision, but we had just had a kid, and I thought I need a little bigger vehicle, and it had kind of a worn-out back seat. So I put it in the Oregonian newspaper, and I didn't get any bites. And I priced it very fairly, and I got no bites. And so I called the newspaper, the Oregonian, and I said, I'm getting no bites. And the guy who ran classifieds suggested this. He said, it's the cheapest one in our paper. He says, why don't you just put $2,000 more on it and put it at a higher price point? What you're telling people is you're selling it for nothing because it's not worth anything.
Exactly. And that's the buffoonery of guys like Shaquille O'Neal going on social media to say that that big ballers don't overprice the shoes and all this other nonsense. There are plenty of outlets of low price shoes and discounted shoes for people with low income. Lavar Ball does not have to lower the price of his shoe to make social media intelligentsia like Shaquille O'Neal happy or satisfied that he's doing what he quote unquote is supposed to do for the quote unquote cause. Right? Well, most of these guys are really just using most of their foundations and fundraisers as Ponzi schemes. All right, I could deal with a guy like a LeVar Ball who's just going to be honest from the outset, rather than some guy trying to act like a saint and meanwhile he's stealing money on the back end. But there's so many outlets for people who want to buy sneakers, cheap sneakers, whether they be Payless or wherever the people want to go, Sneaker Barn, all these other places that people with low income who don't have the money to buy so-called name brand or major corporation shoes for them to go buy sneakers and shoes or what have you. There's no need for LeVar Ball to conform to the whims of a lot of these socialist, silly ass Negroes over the social media.
And so I had it out there for $5,800, and I think I put it out there for $7,500. 10 calls instantly.
Of course, because people associate price with value. They associate value with worth. I mean, it just is what it is.
Sold the car in a day. Same car. The price point sold it.
But a quality car that's already known.
By the way, Grey Goose, and I'm glad you said that. Grey Goose vodka was created. A man named Sidney Frank launched the brand of Grey Goose vodka. Now, vodka's virtually tasteless. Now, they have infused vodka now with orange and lime, but vodka's largely distilled to take the taste out of it. And when Sidney Frank created Grey Goose, their marketing plan was, let's sell it with a frosted bottle and have double the price point of other vodkas. It was not winning awards as the best tasting vodka. It had no history as a great vodka. Nobody really knew who Sidney Frank was. And instead of $19 for a fifth of vodka, it was $34, almost double the average price. And that is the story of Grey Goose.
That's the story of most successful companies. A lot of times it's not the status of the product. It's not necessarily how good the product actually is. It's how it's packaged and it's how it's marketed that determines how much of a success it's going to be. All right, like I said before, you can go around the corner in your neighborhood and find a mom and pop's restaurant that has the best food on the planet. Or you can go to the business district and go to some so-called high-end restaurant and get charged $500 for a plate of food, and they bring the food out and it's a little piece of fish in the middle of a plate. Why is that? What are you paying for? The location and the ambiance. All right? In a so-called free market capitalistic society, people have the right to charge for whatever they want to charge their products for. You control the market by either choosing to purchase it or not. So the people who are upset at how LeVar Ball and Lonzo Ball chose to market and price their shoe, why are they upset? Because they're socialists. They want to tell other people what they should value their product at so that they can try to intimidate them into constraining the market. You can't do that in a free market society. They're socialists. They're just simpletons.
It had no history, like Lonzo Ball's shoes. But the marketing plan was, if it cost almost twice as much, like my BMW, it must be better. It must be.
It's called psychological pricing.
So, this idea that a cheap shoe's a better shoe, let's be honest. When I go and buy shoes for myself, jogging shoes, and I buy like a pair or two a year, I never buy the cheapest shoe. And psychologically, the reason I never buy the cheapest shoe is because I think it's the cheapest shoe.
Exactly. What did I say? People associate price with value. They associate price with quality. They just do. All right. So, when you have these people talking about, oh, well, how could you price it at $495? What about the kids? What they're really saying is, what about the black kids? And when they say that, what they're really saying is that so-called black people don't have the consumer discretion to say, you know what, that's outside of our price range. Instead, what many of these so-called black mothers will do is they'll work overtime to buy their child an idol, like a shoe that they can't afford, and put the child in the shoe because the shoe represents so-called love, the love that they have for the child, allegedly, and then send the child out there to probably get shot over a damn shoe.
Cheapest made, cheapest quality, cheapest fabrics, cheapest whatever it takes to build a tennis shoe, right? It's not because, Colin, you have a good job. Who wants the cheapest anything?
Agreed. You don't want anything overpriced based on the quality, but you definitely don't want it underpriced. If something is easy to be acquired, you assume that it's not of much worth. That's just how the human brain works.
Thing. Honestly, I understand there's a market for like Motel 6. I get the market. I totally do. And there's no reason to spend $900 a night for a hotel room. I get that. But what I'm saying is we have a history here. There is a psychology behind it. I'll also say this. Could I make the argument that if Lonzo Ball is great, it's worth it, and if he stinks and is a bust, it's worth it? Because there is a value in having a collector's item. Ryan Leaf's jersey on eBay right now sells for $224. Ryan Leaf's jersey. Because Ryan Leaf was seen as a bust as a quarterback.
That's why, like I stated, Lavar Ball's business plan is a pretty brilliant business plan, based off of the fact that he clearly does not view himself as having anything to lose. Right? If Lonzo Ball ends up being a bust, then they have a novelty shoe. Right? 20 years from now, people will say, oh, wow, you got that $495 Lonzo Ball shoe. It's like somebody saying that they have a Milli Vanilli album or a Vanilla Ice album. Right? If he ends up being a great player, they can diversify their portfolio. They can create shirts and jeans and hats and more affordable shoes to placate the socialists out there.
There are really good quarterbacks in the NFL right now. You can get their jersey for $175, a Phillip Rivers, a Ryan Leafs for $224, because nobody collected the Ryan Leaf jersey. There's a scarcity out there. Nobody's wearing Ryan Leaf jerseys. So Netflix did a documentary. There is a fascination with bad. So even if Lonzo Ball busted, you'd have a collector's item. The most expensive shoe ever from a first-round bust. There's value in that. Netflix did a documentary, and it was called Atari Game Over. And Atari created a video game after the movie E.T., and they rushed it to market, and it was a disaster. It's considered the worst video game ever created. And Netflix did a documentary called Atari Game Over, and they searched for the video that nobody had. And they had to go to New Mexico and find like a landfill with all these video games that the company basically buried in the earth to hide them because it was so embarrassing. And so my 2 points here are, there is value and precedent and history on overpricing something to create allure.
Absolutely. Kanye West has done it. Right? Most clothing companies have done it and have been doing it for decades. Like I said before, the same so-called affluent blacks that will try to give LaVar Ball a hard time for overpricing, quote unquote, overpricing his shoe, they'll be the same ones that have to run out and buy their woman a pair of $1,200 Manolo Blahniks for Valentine's Day, or they're going to be in the doghouse.
And secondly, even if Lonzo Ball doesn't make it, I could make the argument that terrible is a market. Bust is also a market for collectors. Here's Jenny with the news.
Right, so that's basically it on that. And that's basically it in regards to my take on the LaVar Ball shoe issue. You're really not going to know the bottom line of it until the middle of Lonzo Ball's rookie season. That's when they'll be able to determine if they're going to be able to actually make this into a business as opposed to just trying to make up, to gather enough money to start up the company. But that's my take on it. All right, peace.